In this video, guys, we're going to look at what's a good way to know you are wrong in a trade before it hits your stop loss. Question from a subscriber. Hey guys, warm welcome to you. So thank you to whoever sent this question in. It is, what is a good way to know you are wrong in a trade before it hits your stop loss? Appreciate all your questions and comments wherever you send them or wherever you put them, and also appreciate your subscriptions, everyone out there. Right, let's get to this question. So my initial thought was, you know what, you really should be thinking about this. Your stop loss is in a place where the trade is negated. That's the only real time you should come out. Now, I've got a few others for you, but I really want to cement this fact that, guys, a stop loss is there and it should be put in a place that is really sensible. In other words, you know that that is when the trade is not working. Before that point, the trade still has a chance of working, in your opinion, and so you shouldn't have a reason to close it. I've got some for you, but under most circumstances, you should be saying to yourself, hey, listen, this trade still has a chance of working. That's the point of a stop. You don't want it too wide that you have to keep making the decision. You know, if you're thinking about, a pullback trade, for example, you know, there's a level where you still think the trade is valid. Okay, and that could be, here or something, that could be lower, whatever. That's for you to make as a decision for your trading business, depending on the strategy you're doing. Perhaps you've got a double top trade, okay, and you're shorting a double top. There's your resistance level. There's going to be some level up here where, a double top is no longer valid. And so that's where your stop should go, where the trade is no longer valid. The trade idea is no longer valid. If it's wider than that, you're kind of defeating the object of having a stop. And so you've got to find that sweet spot. And my initial thought is, hey, you know what, you should always let your trade run to the stop loss, because adequate and sensible positioning of a stop loss is one of the key parts of trading. It's what it's about, guys. Okay, but then I also thought, well, actually, no, you've probably got some extra rules in place. And I would say these are the exception to the rule. Okay, if you can figure out, if you can not think about your trade before it hits the stop loss. And one thing also to mention is that if you're cutting your trade before it hits the stop loss because you've got a hunch, that's the worst possible thing you can do. Unless it's on pure data, we'll talk about that in a second, it's the worst thing you can do, because you've got no data on how well your trading strategy is performing. You don't know, hey, I didn't take the stop loss to right to its thing. I felt it wasn't going to go there. Whatever justification you give for it. And then, of course, the data you've got over that sample size is completely useless, because you don't know if you've held it to stop loss. You don't know. Look at it and go, well, actually, that's a losing chunk of trades. Yes, it may be, but if it had stuck to your stop loss, maybe it wouldn't have been, and you won't know that. You won't have that data to be able to do that. And so, meddling with your trading plan or meddling with stuff like this is really a surefire way for disaster. My recommendation is this: work on placing your stop loss. Work on where you need to put your stops that negate the trade. Like the double top, it's going to be above the high. If it's a breakout, it's going to be somewhere below the breakout level. If it's a pullback, it's going to be somewhere. You get the idea. And then you don't want to meddle with it unless it hits your stop, because the stop should be in a place where the trade still has potential to work. All right, there are some caveats to that, and there are some things that I've kind of thought about. There are variables that you might want to add into your trading plan that when they occur, or when a certain event occurs, you have the authority to override a limit or a stop. Okay, there's something in there. Now, it's just some, and you guys might come up with some more and stick them in the comment section below if you do. But something might be time. So let's say you are, day trading is a great example, but obviously it can apply to a swing trade as well. You've been in a trade and it's just done nothing. It's not hit your limit, it's not hit your stop, and it's been stagnating for a long period of time. If you were trading a momentum play, you might consider that makes the trade invalid. It negates the setup, because momentum is momentum, and if it's just sitting there doing nothing for a long period of time, you maybe don't want it. Maybe it hasn't got momentum. It's not exhibiting the criteria that you want. And so that might be something you say, okay, you know what, if we're sitting around for an hour doing nothing, I'm out of it. Another one might be an indicator filter. So You might say, okay, well, if the RSI or something goes below zero, or goes below, into oversold condition, or whatever it may be, I could pick any indicator here. The point is, you could use that and say, well, if I'm in the trade and the indicator does this, then I'm out of the trade before it hits my limit, before it hits my stop. But that would be an exit criteria that you might add into your trade. So you'd say, here's my limit, X pips, here's my stop, X pips. If we have a crossing of this or the Bollinger Band squeeze or whatever it may be, then I'll exit the trade. So that might be some other reason, and you could put that into your trading plan. And the final one that I've come up with is conditions change. So let's say surprise news comes out. If surprise news comes out, you might say, well, that's overruled any technicals. Yeah, any technicals that I've had, any reason for the trade, have been completely overshadowed by this surprise news. And so if any news of this caliber, or we get a move of this amount of pips in a certain amount of time happens, then I'll cut the trade. Because yes, I might still make money or I might still lose money, but really the reason for the trade is now no longer valid, because everyone's looking at this news and it's a different setup. It's a different play I need to look for rather than what I've got before. It might be something you put and it might not be. It's going to be depending on what's to you. So just to summarize, you know, you should hold your trade until stop most of the time. 9 times out of 10, you want to hold it until it either hits your stop or hits your target or hits a level that you've designed as a reassessment level. You know, there is a validity to say, well, actually my hard stop is here, okay, and I've got a kind of review area here. That's fine, but again, that's still planning in. You don't want to do stuff on the fly. And then these are kind of a few ideas that maybe you'd add into your trading plan that would say, you know what, I'm out of the trade, one of these is activated and it overrules my stop or it overrules my limit. All right, thanks for the question again, appreciate it, and take care. Whatever you're doing, keep your risk managed. Goodbye.